Here's a pan of my workspace. Here are my note cards. College. It's what lots of people growing up aspire to go to, and I know I certainly was one of them. And I wanted to come to college and experience everything it had to offer. Now, since COVID-19 hit back in March, and it kicked us all out, it's been a huge hindrance on this fall semester as well. And according to Anthony Bellotti, a 20-year-old student who was interviewed by CNBC in September, said, "I feel like I'm teaching myself the material, and I'm just getting frustrated at myself every day." He also said, "I'm not getting the one-on-one time with my professor that I normally would get in a traditional setting," which I know for a fact that I felt like this a few times throughout this semester as well. Which is why today I plan on talking about how COVID-19 changed schooling as a whole and how colleges should change their tuition prices to help reflect how the changes have happened in the past year. So first I'm going to tell you a little bit about how college has changed since last March. And the main difference is that now most classes are either hybrid or completely online. And this is needed to help maintain social distancing, which is completely understandable. But online classes are a great thought process, but aren't the best in practice. And Eric Bettinger and other authors at Harvard in 2019 actually did a study and wrote a paper, and they stated that if you take an online course in college, your GPA is 0.44% lower than the grade average of everyone. And after you take that online class, the following class you take after that, your GPA will be about 0.15% lower than it was had you have not taken the online class. Which basically means if you were to be in a traditional setting classroom and you were to get a B, if you took that exact same class in online, on average you would get around a C. Another thing that has changed is the certain amenities that you get while you're at college, such as here at Ball State, you have like our rec center, which has changed dramatically since last year, because now to follow COVID-19 regulations, they have to close earlier and open later, which really can suck for some students. And another thing that's changed is dorm life, because they have to have a lot of social distancing inside there, which can really put a damper on your dorm life experience that you expected to have if you were an incoming student. Another thing, with all that being said, tuition prices have not changed at all. And since tuition hasn't changed, it has caused some students to look on and reflect on what they're going to do for the following years. Some have even chosen to take a gap year. And according to Ella Needler, a senior at Washington State University, who was interviewed by her employer at the St. Louis Federal Reserve in March of 2020, she said, "It's just not what I'm used to. And I noticed last spring I was not as focused or as interested in the material that I was in traditional classing, which made it not as easy to learn." Now, I know that I've struggled with that a few times myself throughout this semester of trying to learn exactly what I need to for the classes in an online setting. And now that we know how college has changed since COVID-19, you may be wondering, has this change really been enough for colleges to want to change their tuition prices? Well, according to thecollegedata.com, the average tuition at a public college is $26,820, which this includes room and board, tuition, and other fees. Now, if we assume that you came here in 2020 and were living on campus, you may realize that experience that you got this year, it isn't really worth the same as it would be in previous years. And the reason is because COVID-19 has created all sorts of new regulations to help stop the spread. So that's why at Ball State, some students at the beginning of the year that were living in housing were not allowed to have anybody that wasn't their roommate inside the room, which can really lead to loneliness. And according to Cambridge University, loneliness isn't a good thing for young adults because it can lead to a lot of mental health problems, and which can also lead to depression. And the $26,820 that tuition is costing also includes different fees that you pay for, which gets you the great amenities that you can get, such as the rec center and different dining facilities and all the stuff that you expect to have while you're at college. But since COVID-19 hit, most of these things have had to have some sort of change that really isn't reflected in the prices that you're getting charged. And actually, when you go to the frequently asked questions for Ball State under the COVID-19 banner there, it says that the fees for all these amenities will not change, which really doesn't seem all that fair considering how much has actually changed since COVID-19 started. So as you can see, the transition to our new normal for school hasn't been the greatest, and colleges really need to put more consideration into changing their tuition prices for the oncoming year. So in conclusion, COVID-19 has been a huge factor in how college students have had to change their lives to adapt to this new time in college for us all. And with that being said, you got to remember that even though we had to change, college didn't change their prices whatsoever. So hopefully, if we can band together or something, we can hopefully get the colleges to try and change their prices for the following tuition so that we can all get through these unprecedented times and hopefully at the end of it have a little bit cheaper tuition prices. And here's a pan of my workspace.